Above the colorful planet of Valatar Prime, the stars shimmered like distant fireflies, blinking in and out of sight beyond the hull of Station Epsilon 9. The station floated like a giant steel flower, its petals stretched open to welcome traders, diplomats and travelers from every corner of the galaxy. Inside, the air buzzed with the hum of languages, smells and colors that had never existed on Earth. Towering aliens with crystalline eyes walked beside floating jellyfish beings. Small creatures with wings zipped through the air delivering messages. Everything seemed peaceful, civilized, safe. But beneath the calm surface, tension pulsed like a buried fuse. For centuries, the Galactic Concord had ruled with strict laws. War was forbidden. Disputes were solved by councils. Weapons were locked away. Most species had forgotten what true violence even looked like. They believed they had evolved past it, but humans had not. That was the unspoken truth, the quiet fear hidden behind every alien smirk and whisper. The humans were different. They remembered war. They still trained for it. They still felt it deep in their bones. Commander Logan Reeve stood at the edge of one of Epsilon 9's upper balconies, his sharp gray eyes scanning the sea of life below. He wore the black and silver uniform of the Human Frontier Corps, simple, but respected. Tall and calm, Logan looked like he belonged among the stars, but his eyes carried Earth's history, storms, fires, and survival. Around him, aliens gave him space, some politely, some with caution. Behind the smooth smiles and kind gestures, there was always the same thought. Humans were dangerous, and some aliens didn't like having them here. "They're too emotional," muttered a Graln diplomat to his aide, not realizing his translator was still on. "They smell of fire and meat. They don't belong in conquered space." Another, a Zalari merchant with smooth silver skin and 7 eyes, sipped a glowing drink and hissed, "They wear peace like a mask. Underneath is always war." Logan had heard these words before. None of it surprised him. But it wasn't the insults that bothered him. It was the ignorance. These aliens had no idea what was coming. The outer rim worlds, wild systems beyond conquered control, had been stirring. Ships disappearing, colonies silent, patrols lost. Something was rising out there, and Logan had seen the signs. He'd sent reports, warnings, pleas, all ignored. The Concord didn't want to hear it. They believed words solved everything. They believed fear was behind them. That's why Logan had come here, to speak with someone who understood. Sergeant Miko Vega, a recon officer recently back from a classified mission near the dead zone. She'd sent an encrypted message. "We need to talk," it said. "Now." Logan didn't wait. He arranged to meet her at a place no human normally went. The Spilled Nebula, a bar on Deck 77 known for its alien-only crowd and strong anti-human views. It wasn't just a bar. It was a message. By walking in, Logan was daring the galaxy to look him in the eye. The place smelled like ozone, alcohol, and something wet and sour. Lights pulsed on the ceiling. Loud music and alien tones vibrated. The tables. Logan entered quietly, eyes scanning for Vega. She hadn't arrived yet. He ordered a drink and sat at the counter. Conversations dropped. Heads turned. He felt their eyes crawling over his back like insects. Among them, 4 massive Vortari enforcers, each over 8 feet tall, muscles thick like tree trunks, tusks curling up from their jaws, stared at him. One leaned forward, his voice a deep growl. Look what crawled in. A human ape. Laughter followed. Logan didn't flinch. He sipped his drink. The Vortari stood, cracking his knuckles. "You think you're brave?" he asked, stepping closer. "You're just soft flesh in a tin suit. We were warriors before your kind left your trees." Another laugh. Logan turned his head slowly and met the Vortari's glowing yellow eyes. Calm. Empty. Not a threat. Just noise. But the Vortari didn't like being ignored. His hand shot out hard and fast, slamming into Logan's chest. The drink spilled. The bar went still. Logan placed the glass down slowly. And then, for the first time in years, the station saw a human smile that wasn't friendly. Not warm, just sharp. cold, final. The moment in the bar shifted like a thunderstorm breaking over a quiet sea. The Vortari enforcer, towering and brutish, had just shoved Logan Reeve hard enough to send his drink splashing onto the worn metal floor. The air thickened with tension, as every eye in the spilled nebula turned toward them. The Vortari's tusked face twisted into a cruel grin, expecting fear or retreat. Instead, Logan's expression was calm, almost amused, as if the shove had been nothing but a mild inconvenience. There was no hesitation, no flinch, no anger boiling in his eyes, just a quiet, steady resolve that made the room hold its breath. Without warning, Logan moved like a coiled spring unleashed. His fist shot out and connected solidly with the Vortari's jaw. The impact was a sharp crack that echoed through the bar, louder than the music and chatter combined. The tusked giant stumbled backward, crashing into a table which shattered under his weight. Silence fell instantly. For a second, no one moved. Then the four other Vortari enforcers, their faces darkening with rage, lunged forward. They were massive creatures, muscles bulging under thick hides, used to being the strongest in any room. But Logan didn't back down. He dropped into a fighting stance born of years in Earth's toughest military training. The first Vortari swung a huge fist aiming to crush Logan's ribs, but Logan ducked just in time, the fist missing by inches. With a quick movement, he delivered an elbow strike to the second Vortari's side, making him grunt in pain. Another attacker charged, but Logan twisted and slammed the side of his hand into the tusked warrior's face, the sound of bone meeting flesh sharp and final. The last of the group wasn't waiting. He tried to grab Logan from behind, but Sergeant Miko Vega sprang into action like a shadow. She vaulted over the bar with the grace of a dancer, spinning in the air before landing a powerful kick straight into the Vortari's spine. The impact forced the giant forward, collapsing him onto the ground with a heavy thud. Chaos exploded as furniture crashed and shattered, glasses and plates flying through the air. Aliens scrambled to get away from the sudden fight, some yelling in shock, others drawing weapons, though none dared fire in the crowded bar. The security team rushed in too late, faces pale at the destruction left behind. When the dust settled, 3 of the Vortari lay unconscious or groaning on the floor, their strength no match for Logan and Vega's speed and skill. Logan stood with blood trickling down his knuckles, his breathing steady but fierce, eyes scanning the room that had watched his power erupt. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of the station's engines and the occasional gasp from stunned onlookers. Word of the fight spread fast, far faster than anyone could have expected. Holonet channels, news feeds, and private networks all buzzed with the footage captured by curious bystanders. The message was clear. The humans had fought back, and they had won. The galaxy, long lulled into a false sense of peace, suddenly remembered what raw violence looked like. The video showed more than just a bar fight. It showed strength, speed, and a will to fight that no one had dared see in humans before. Aliens who had mocked human aggression were forced to reconsider their assumptions. The High Council of the Galactic Concord convened emergency meetings. Some called for human exile, fearing their wildness could spark another war. Others whispered fears about the rising tensions on the frontier, wondering if humans could be the force needed to stop it or the spark that would burn everything down. Meanwhile, in the shadows beyond the civilized worlds, threats that had been ignored now began to stir louder. Unknown fleets moved in silence. Colonies vanished. The humans, with their fierce spirit and readiness for combat, stood ready to face the storm. Logan and Vega became symbols, not just of defiance, but of humanity's refusal to be pushed down or ignored. Their fight was not just about a bar or a few bruised egos. It was the first sign of a coming war that would shake the Yell stars themselves. The news of the bar fight spread through the Galactic Concord like wildfire, stirring whispers, debates, and deep unease. Many aliens who had once laughed at humanity now looked at humans with wary respect or outright fear. The peaceful mask. The galaxy war began to crack, revealing the old fears that violence could return, and that humanity was the spark. Commander Logan Reeve and Sergeant Miko Vega were summoned to the Concord Council, a grand chamber carved from black stone that gleamed under the soft lights. Alien delegates from dozens of worlds filled the massive room, their eyes fixed on the humans standing at the center. The council was a place of words, promises, and laws, a place where conflicts were meant to end before they started. But this meeting was different. The humans were not there to apologize or plead for peace. Instead, they spoke with quiet strength. Logan's voice was calm but firm as he explained what he and Vega had discovered on the frontier. Fleets of unknown ships, lurking beyond the borders, attacking outposts and wiping colonies off the map. "We have no choice," he said. "If the conquered won't act, we will." Many delegates murmured, shocked by the boldness. The Galactic Concord had long relied on diplomacy, and the idea of a preemptive strike was almost unthinkable. Yet, Logan's words stirred a silent truth. Something dark was coming, and the galaxy was not prepared. Sergeant Vega stepped forward, showing images and intercepted signals from their reconnaissance mission. The evidence was clear. These were not ordinary pirates or smugglers, but a growing force with advanced weapons and no mercy. The Council faced a choice: continue to deny the threat or accept that violence was returning and prepare for war. As the debate raged, tensions rose beyond the chamber walls. On Valatar Prime and other worlds, humans were confronted with suspicion and hostility. Markets closed to them, diplomats avoided their calls, and rumors of attacks on human colonies spread. But instead of retreating, humans rallied together, their resolve hardening. Training increased, ships were repaired and armed, and new recruits filled the ranks eager to protect their kind. Meanwhile, in the darkest reaches of space, the Shadow Fleet grew. Commanders and human and alien forces alike watched star maps that flickered with reports of missing ships and silent planets. The enemy was patient, striking swiftly and disappearing before retaliation. Logan knew time was short. He gathered his trusted team, a mix of humans and a few brave aliens who believed in the need for action. They planned a daring reconnaissance mission into the enemy's territory, hoping to learn their numbers, technology, and weaknesses. As their ship, the Resolute, slipped quietly through the void, every crew member felt the weight of the coming storm. Back at the Conquered, debate turned into division. Some wanted to banish humanity from the galaxy, seeing them as a danger too great to control. Others argued that humans were the only hope against the unknown menace. The fragile alliance that had kept peace for generations teetered on the edge of collapse. For Logan and his crew, the mission was more than reconnaissance. It was a test of trust, strength, and survival. They faced unknown dangers in the dark reaches of space, from asteroid fields to ambushes by alien patrols loyal to the Shadow Fleet. Each encounter pushed them harder, revealing the enemy's brutal tactics and advanced technology. But it also revealed something else. The enemy feared humans. Their attacks grew more cautious, their movements more secretive. The humans' fierce reputation was spreading, shaking the confidence of even the darkest forces. Despite the danger, Logan pressed on. He knew the coming battle would decide not just the fate of humanity, but the future of the entire galaxy. His team's courage and skill became a beacon of hope, inspiring others to stand up and fight. At the heart of it all was a simple truth. Humans might be reckless, loud, and violent, but they were also fiercely loyal, endlessly creative, and unbreakable in the face of doom. As the Resolute sent back its findings, the Galactic Concord faced a choice. Would they unite behind humanity's call to arms or crumble under the weight of their own fears? The answer would come soon, and when it did, the galaxy would never be the same again. The days that followed the reconnaissance mission were tense and full of unease. The crew of the Resolute returned with critical information that changed everything. The enemy fleet was larger, more powerful, and better equipped than anyone had feared. Their ships moved with deadly precision, armed with weapons capable of tearing through the toughest shields, and their tactics were ruthless and well-coordinated. The Resolute had narrowly escaped several ambushes, losing parts of its armor and sustaining damage that reminded everyone how fragile survival could be. Despite the danger, the crew's spirits remained unbroken, fueled by the knowledge that their mission had revealed the true scale of the threat. Back at the Galactic Concord, Logan and Vega presented the intelligence in a tense meeting packed with delegates from countless worlds. The council chamber was thick with murmurs and shocked expressions. The enemy wasn't just a minor danger. It was a force intent on conquest and destruction, with no interest in diplomacy or peace. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. Some delegates, still clinging to old ways of avoiding war, pleaded for more talks and inspections. But the growing number of destroyed colonies and missing ships was undeniable proof that diplomacy alone would not stop this threat. Logan's words cut through the tension like a blade. He urged the council to prepare for war, not tomorrow or next month, but immediately. They will not wait, he warned. We have to strike first, or we lose everything. The debate grew heated, alliances fractured, and threats of vetoes filled the air. For hours, the council argued about the cost of war, the chances of victory, and the dangers of human aggression. Yet beneath the words lay a growing fear. If the council failed to act, the enemy would destroy them all. Outside the Grand Hall, the galaxy itself was changing. Human colonies tightened security and expanded their fleets. Alien worlds began their own mobilizations. Weapons factories worked around the clock. Old rivalries and distrust were set aside in the face of the greater threat. But the uneasy peace that had lasted for generations was slipping away fast. Logan and Vega did not waste a moment. They led training drills, coordinated fleet movements, and worked with scientists to improve ship designs and weapon systems. Every day was a race against time, pushing the limits of human endurance and ingenuity. Amid this preparation, small battles flared across the frontier. Enemy scouts probed defenses, testing reactions and weaknesses. Human and allied forces met. These attacks with fierce resistance, often outnumbered but never outmatched in courage or tactics. The fighting was brutal and costly, with losses on both sides, but each victory sent a message. Humanity would not be an easy target. The tension reached a breaking point when the enemy launched a surprise assault on the mining colony of Greska 9, a vital source of resources for the human war effort. The attack was swift and brutal, leaving little time for defense. As explosions rocked the surface and warning sirens blared, Logan and Vega raced to organize a relief fleet. The battle to save Greska 9 was fierce, with fighters weaving through asteroid belts, capital ships exchanging blasts that lit up the darkness of space, and ground forces battling to hold key installations. The enemy's numbers were overwhelming, but the defenders fought with desperation and skill. Logan himself led a squadron in a daring strike against the enemy flagship, navigating through a hail of fire to deliver a critical blow that turned the tide. The victory at Greska 9 came at a high price. Many brave souls were lost, ships destroyed, and the colony suffered heavy damage. But it was a turning point. The galaxy realized that the enemy could be beaten, that unity and courage could overcome even the darkest odds. Yet the victory was bittersweet. The enemy was not defeated, far from it. They retreated to regroup and prepare for an even greater assault. The war had only just begun, and the coming battles would test every strength humanity and its allies possessed. Logan and Vega stood together on the deck of the Resolute, looking out at the stars. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with danger and sacrifice. But they were ready. They would fight, not just for survival but for the future of the galaxy itself. The story of human resilience and defiance was no longer a whisper. It was a roar that echoed through space, warning all who dared threaten them. The humans were here to stay and they would never run. The enemy's retreat after the Battle of Greska 9 was not a sign of weakness but a calculated move to regroup and strengthen their forces. In the dark reaches of space, far from the watchful eyes of the Galactic Concord, the Shadow Fleet gathered. Commanders barked orders, technicians worked feverishly to repair and upgrade ships, and scientists tested new weapons designed to crush any resistance. The enemy was determined to end the war quickly and decisively, to wipe out humanity and any who dared stand with them. Meanwhile, the human alliance was racing to prepare for the inevitable next attack. The victory at Greska 9 had lifted spirits but also reminded everyone how fragile their hold was. Logistics hubs were expanded, supply lines reinforced, and new pilots trained. Engineers pored over blueprints, creating better armor and faster engines, while tacticians studied the enemy's movements to predict their next strike. Commander Logan Reeve and Sergeant Miko Vega worked around the clock, coordinating fleets and training crews, knowing that every second counted. Yet, despite the grim preparations, the humans never lost their fierce spirit. Even in the darkest hours, laughter and camaraderie filled the corridors of their ships. Stories of past battles were shared, jokes cracked, and friendships forged. In the heat of conflict, this unity became their greatest strength, a shield no weapon could penetrate. As the weeks passed, reports came in of strange new allies joining the fight. Small alien groups, once neutral or indifferent, had chosen to stand with humanity. They brought unique technologies and fierce warriors, swelling the ranks of the Alliance. This growing coalition gave hope, but also added complexity. Different languages, customs, and tactics had to be learned and respected to fight as one. The enemy did not wait long to test this united front. Their next assault targeted a key human ally system known as Vexus Prime, a planet rich in resources and strategic importance. The battle for Vexus Prime was brutal and unrelenting. Space around the planet was filled with flashing lasers, exploding warships, and the constant roar of engines. Human pilots danced between enemy fire, risking everything to protect their home and allies. On the ground, soldiers faced waves of invaders fighting with grit and determination. The enemy was cunning, using ambushes and new weapons that forced the defenders to adapt quickly or perish. Logan took command of a daring strike force, aiming to break the enemy's formation and destroy their command ship. The mission was perilous. Success meant turning the tide. Failure could doom the entire system. With precision and courage, Logan led his pilots through the chaos, dodging plasma blasts and missile barrages. The fight pushed everyone to their limits. Ships exploded in brilliant bursts, and heroes were made in moments of desperate bravery. Sergeant Vega coordinated ground defenses, inspiring troops and rallying reserves at critical moments. The battle raged for days, each moment filled with tension and sacrifice. Finally, the combined efforts of the Alliance forced the enemy to retreat once more, leaving behind wreckage and silence. But the cost was steep. Many lives were lost, cities lay in ruins, and the people of Vexus Prime faced a long road to recovery. Despite the victory, the war had shown its true face, a brutal, grinding conflict that would test every ounce of humanity's will. As the smoke cleared, Logan and Vega stood on the bridge of the Resolute, gazing at the starfield beyond. The war was far from over, but the Alliance had proven it could stand strong. The humans and their allies had shown the galaxy that violence was not their weakness but their power. The battle for Vexus Prime was a lesson written in fire and blood, a warning to all that humanity would fight fiercely for every inch of space, and that those who mocked their violence would soon learn why no one should ever underestimate it. The days after the fierce battle for Vexus Prime were filled with both hope and hard work. The Alliance had won a crucial fight, but the wounds it left ran deep. Entire cities lay in ruins. Families mourned lost loved ones, and the scars of war marked every corner. Yet, even in the midst of destruction, a new determination grew stronger among the humans and their allies. They refused to let fear or pain defeat them. Commander Logan Reeve and Sergeant Miko Vega moved swiftly to rebuild defenses and shore up their alliances. Supplies were rushed to battered planets, new recruits trained and strategies refined. Every victory was celebrated, but no one forgot the price they had paid. The enemy, sensing the resolve of the Alliance, changed tactics. They became more aggressive, striking quickly and unpredictably to wear down their opponents. Space battles turned into brutal contests of endurance, with fleets clashing under distant suns and debris filling the void. It was a war fought on many fronts, each one as dangerous as the last. In one such battle near the edge of human-controlled space, Logan led a desperate mission to rescue a stranded convoy under heavy attack. The convoy carried vital resources and refugees fleeing war zones. The enemy fleet closed in, firing relentless volleys that threatened to tear the ships apart. Logan's squadron weaved through blasts, shielding the convoy with daring maneuvers and coordinated strikes. The tension was unbearable, every second counting as lives hung in the balance. Sergeant Vega, coordinating from the ground, sent reinforcements and provided critical intel that helped Logan find weak spots in the enemy's formation. Together they saved most of the convoy, but not without losses. The battle left scars. Ships were lost, and brave pilots sacrificed themselves to ensure others lived. This mission became a symbol of the Alliance's courage and the cost of war. Yet amidst the battles and loss, moments of humanity shone brightly. Soldiers and pilots found brief peace in shared stories, songs, and memories of home. They drew strength from each other, forging bonds that transcended worlds and species. These connections fueled their will to keep fighting, reminding them what was worth protecting. The enemy's pressure increased, and it became clear they aimed to crush the Alliance's spirit by striking at its heart, the capital planet of the human alliance, Terra Nova. The plan was ruthless. Overwhelm defenses with sheer numbers, then seize control before reinforcements could arrive. As enemy ships darkened the skies, the people of Terra Nova braced for the fight of their lives. Logan and Vega prepared for the final stand. The space above Terra Nova turned into a battlefield of fire and smoke. Fleets clashed in a violent dance, fighters darting through explosions while massive cruisers exchanged devastating volleys. Ground forces battled alongside machines and alien warriors, pushing back wave after wave of enemy soldiers. Every corner of the planet became a battlefield, cities turning into fortresses, and streets flowing with the determination of those who refused to yield. Logan flew his flagship with fierce focus, coordinating attacks and defending critical points. Vega led ground forces with unyielding grit, rallying troops and coordinating strikes that turned the tide in key areas. The battle pushed both leaders and their troops beyond their limits, testing their courage, skill, and endurance. After days of relentless fighting, the enemy's assault began to falter. Their forces, worn down and outmatched by the Alliance's unity and determination, started to retreat. The victory was hard-won, leaving Terra Nova battered but unbroken. The war had reached a turning point. The enemy's belief that they could quickly destroy humanity had been shattered. Yet the cost of victory weighed heavily on everyone. The Waita streets bore the marks of fierce combat, and the faces of survivors reflected both relief and sorrow. Logan and Vega stood side by side, knowing this battle was only one of many to come. But the spirit of humanity and its allies burned brighter than ever. They had faced overwhelming odds and refused to break. The galaxy had seen the strength behind human violence, the fierce loyalty, the unyielding courage, and the will to survive against all odds. The war was far from over, but this moment proved that humanity was not just a force to be feared, but one to be respected. As the sun set over the scarred but proud world of Terra Nova, the Alliance prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead, united by the knowledge that they could endure anything, because they fought not just for victory, but for the future of all who called the stars home. The victory at Terra Nova had been a turning point, but the war was far from over. The enemy, humiliated and desperate, unleashed their deadliest weapon, a massive superweapon hidden deep within a forgotten star system. This weapon had the power to destroy entire planets with a single blast, and its activation threatened not only human worlds but the entire Allied coalition. The intelligence about the weapon came from a secretive alien faction that had remained neutral until now, choosing to side with humanity after witnessing their resilience and honor in battle. Commander Logan Reeve and Sergeant Miko Vega were tasked with leading a strike team to infiltrate the system, disable the superweapon, and prevent total annihilation. The mission was incredibly dangerous, requiring stealth, speed, and precise coordination. As the fleet approached the star system, tension filled the air. The superweapon was heavily guarded by enemy warships and automated defenses. Every inch of space was a minefield of traps and patrols. Logan's fleet moved carefully, using every trick learned from past battles to avoid detection and break through the enemy's lines. Inside the superweapon's orbit, the strike team launched small, nimble fighters to scout and disable the outer defenses. The enemy responded fiercely, engaging in intense dogfights where pilots risked everything to protect their prize. Logan himself led a squadron in daring attacks, weaving through blasts and debris to strike critical enemy vessels. On the ground, a team led by Sergeant Vega prepared for a covert landing on the superweapon itself. Their goal was to sabotage the weapon's core and shut it down before it could fire. The environment inside the weapon was hostile and alien, filled with dark corridors, security drones, and automated turrets. Every step forward was met with resistance. Vega's team moved silently, relying on teamwork and quick reflexes to avoid detection and neutralize threats. The tension was high and time was running out. Meanwhile, the enemy commander overseeing the superweapon was ruthless, determined to stop the strike team at all costs. He unleashed reinforcements and deployed traps designed to crush the intruders. Vega's squad faced relentless attacks, forced into close combat where their training and courage were tested to the limit. Back in space, Logan's fleet battled to keep the enemy forces distracted and unable to reinforce the superweapon's defenses. The fight was brutal, with explosions lighting up the void and ships torn apart by concentrated fire. Both sides suffered heavy losses, but the Alliance refused to yield. As Vega's team reached the core chamber, they encountered the weapon's central control system. The complexity of the technology was unlike anything they had seen, blending alien design with destructive power. Working quickly, they hacked into the system, bypassing security protocols and initiating the shutdown sequence. The enemy commander launched a final desperate assault, trying to stop the shutdown with boarding parties and heavy fire. Vega and her team fought fiercely, buying precious moments to complete their mission. With a final surge of effort, the shutdown was successful. The superweapon powered down, its deadly threat extinguished. The remaining enemy forces, demoralized and leaderless, began to retreat. Logan's fleet pursued, pressing their advantage to ensure no chance of immediate counterattack. The victory saved countless lives and boosted the Alliance's morale to new heights. Yet, the mission had cost dearly. Many brave souls did not return, their sacrifice forever etched in the memory of all who survived. Logan and Vega stood together amidst the silence after the storm, proud of their team but aware that peace was still far away. This battle had proven that even in the face of overwhelming power, human courage, unity, and determination could turn the tide. The galaxy now knew that when humanity fought, it did so with heart and unbreakable will. The war had reached a critical moment, and the Alliance prepared for whatever new challenges lay ahead, stronger and more united than ever before. The war that had stretched across star systems and years finally reached its climax. After disabling the enemy's superweapon, the Alliance seized the chance to press their advantage and strike at the enemy's homeworld, the dark heart of their power. The fleet assembled, massive, battle-worn, but burning with determination. Ships of every kind, human and alien alike, filled the space around the enemy's last stronghold, ready to end the conflict once and for all. Commander Logan Reeve and Sergeant Miko Vega stood side by side on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, knowing this would be the toughest battle yet. The enemy's homeworld was heavily fortified, surrounded by layers of defenses designed to crush any invasion. Swarms of fighters darted through space like deadly hornets, and massive capital ships bristled with weapons. The skies above the planet were alive with fire and smoke from endless skirmishes. Logan's voice was steady as he gave orders, coordinating attacks and defenses with precision. The Alliance had learned much from earlier battles, and now their teamwork shone brighter than ever. Vega led the ground forces, preparing soldiers and alien warriors for the brutal fight ahead. Their mission was to breach the planet's surface defenses, disable key command centers, and capture or eliminate the enemy leaders. The battle began with an intense space engagement. Fleets clashed in a thunderous storm of laser fire and missile barrages. The void exploded in brilliant flashes as ships collided and were torn apart. Pilots risked everything, diving through enemy lines to protect their comrades and strike vital targets. Despite fierce resistance, the Alliance forces broke through, the outer defenses opening a path to the planet below. On the surface, Vega's troops faced relentless attacks. The enemy used every weapon and tactic to hold their ground. Cities became battlegrounds, where buildings turned to rubble and every street was fought over inch by inch. Vega's leadership inspired her forces to push forward through exhaustion and pain. She moved among them, encouraging the weary and strategizing new moves to outsmart the enemy. The fight was brutal and personal. Friends were lost and sacrifices made, but the soldiers fought on for their homes, their families, and their future. As the battle raged, Logan led a daring assault on the enemy's command station orbiting the planet. His squadron faced intense fire but broke through the defenses with skill and courage. Inside the station, elite forces battled to secure control. The enemy leader, a ruthless commander who had orchestrated the war against humanity, confronted Logan in a fierce hand-to-hand fight. Both were skilled warriors, but Logan's fierce determination and unyielding spirit gave him the edge. With a final, decisive strike, Logan ended the enemy leader's reign. This moment signaled the collapse of the enemy's command structure and broke their will to fight. On the planet, Vega's forces seized key locations, capturing surviving leaders and securing peace. The war that had threatened to tear the galaxy apart was finally over. The cost had been great. Countless lives lost, planets scarred, and families forever changed. Yet the victory proved something greater: humanity's strength, resilience, and unbreakable will. The Alliance had faced overwhelming odds, mockery, and violence, but had never backed down. They had shown the galaxy that human violence was not mindless aggression, but a fierce protection of everything they held dear. As the dust settled, celebrations began, but so did rebuilding and healing. New bonds were formed between species, and old wounds slowly mended. Logan and Vega stood together, looking out at the stars that now seemed a little brighter, knowing that this was not just the end of a war, but the beginning of a new era, one where humanity and its allies would watch the galaxy with a fierce pride and readiness to defend their place among the stars.